I failed at self-discipline until I realized this. Stay tuned for this awesome video after this. Developing lasting self-discipline and achieving goals often seems impossible for those chronically struggling with follow-through. No matter how much effort is put into rigid planning or intense routines, hoping this time progress will stick, most fall into the same traps of frustration and backsliding when the motivation fades. But this demoralizing cycle of starting and abandoning effort can be interrupted by transforming specific perspectives. Rather than an innate and fixed personality trait, self-control emerges as a teachable skill fortified over time through tailored scaffolds designed around understanding human psychology. Small, imperfect, consistent gains driven by internal metrics and accountability replace perceptions of all-or-nothing rigidity and limitations. With this flexible, process-oriented framework, nurturing incremental improvement in place, transformation follows as a natural, self-perpetuating effect of compounding tiny wins into forward momentum. I was stuck in a cycle of starting and stopping. It's widespread to enthusiastically start a new habit, routine, or goal, only to drop it a few weeks later. This frequently happens with things like exercise programs, healthy eating plans, waking up early, budgeting systems, essentially any positive change that requires consistent self-discipline over an extended period. There can be intense motivation at first that quickly fades away when the slightest disruption occurs. Suddenly, the person falls off the wagon and abandons the effort. This start-stop cycle can profoundly demoralize and damage one's self-confidence. They tell themselves, "This time will be different," and inevitably end up frustrated and disappointed, which often repeats in a loop for years. Without realizing it, the approach undermines sustainability and self-discipline from the start. Things continue to stall until fundamental perspectives shift. Willpower alone was not enough. Attempting to brute force improved habits or rigidly adhering to intense routines through sheer willpower and positivity rarely lasts long. Forcing oneself to wake up at 5 a.m. to work out or spend hours trying to learn complex new skills through persistence may work for the first few weeks. But continuously pushing through mental barriers and an overloaded schedule is exhausting. Motivation has natural ebbs and flows. Nobody can sustain peak performance indefinitely before burning out. This is why sustainable systems built around understanding human psychology and cycles of discipline ultimately triumph over motivation surges and short-term intensity. I assumed self-discipline was an innate trait. Seeing others who seem to effortlessly wake up early, exercise religiously, and apply unbreakable focus and self-control can give the impression that self-discipline is intrinsic. Some people believe you either inherently have it from birth or you don't. But this masks the truth. Self-discipline can be intentionally built and developed over time like a muscle. Reframing it as a teachable skill versus a fixed personality trait is profoundly empowering. Anybody can strengthen their capacity for motivation and follow through by surrounding themselves with supportive people and mentors. Adopting this growth mindset is critical to forward progress. My all-or-nothing thinking sabotaged me. Perfectionists generally allow no room for mistakes or flexibility in their goals and routines. If they happen to skip a day of logging food or miss an assignment deadline, they see themselves as having failed and ruined their progress entirely. This tendency permits them to quit altogether if unrealistic expectations of themselves aren't met. Holding such uncompromising standards makes abandoning consistency at the first minor setback or roadblock easy. Becoming more comfortable with gradual, imperfect progress is pivotal for sustaining self-discipline and building habits over time. It's far better to work out twice per week consistently than hit 5 days inconsistently. Tracking calories accurately 4 days a week will still lead to progress, rather than doing it flawlessly for 1 day but then stopping entirely. Adjusting extremes into reasonable compromises and standards enables the small wins and momentum necessary for ongoing motivation. I was focused on the wrong things. Measuring success by huge, ambitious end goals often frustrates people without accounting for reasonable pathways to get there through incremental gains. Expecting perfectly chiseled six-pack abs after 2 months of hitting the gym leads to disappointment instead of feeling proud at having shown up consistently twice weekly during that time frame. Similarly, wanting straight A grades after learning basic programming skills is unrealistic until one masters first breaking complex tasks into manageable pieces. Shifting focus away from distant visions onto smaller, measurable building blocks fuels self-discipline through positive reinforcement.